But fellas, let's talk about Daniel Jones. He's now going to the Indianapolis Colts. Um, there's gonna be competition because again, him, Anthony Richardson. Now, champ, you and I, we've talked about Anthony Richardson. We thought coming out of college, overhyped because we didn't see because even though we knew he was talented, we knew he had a big arm, we knew he was athletic, but he was never known for having great accuracy and stuff.
Mhm.
Champ, I'm afraid if Anthony Richardson doesn't improve his game, and if Daniel Jones steps in and plays well, I don't know what to say for Anthony Richardson at this point because we saw what happened to him last year. I mean, just look at some of the performances that he had against Houston. I think there was one game in which he had like what two completions again
Mhm.
on the road against Houston. And if you looked at his play overall, now he did improve a little bit once he came back from the bench. You look at the game against the Jets, you look at some of the other games. But Anthony Richardson, if he doesn't have an improved season, champ, then the Colts made a mistake by drafting him. And look, I'm not going to say he's a bust. I'm not going to do that. We still got to wait and see on that. But if he doesn't have any type of improvement whatsoever, especially when you have a guy like Shane Steichen calling plays for you, I don't know what to say. So, champ, floor is yours, man.
What's so funny about this is you have a guy who, remember the Minnesota Vikings was trying to take, trying to get Daniel Jones. They was trying to get him. You know, now whether he was going to start or not, that remained to be seen. But they was actually trying to get him. So for him to go to Indianapolis to say, "Hey, I might have the potential to relaunch my career," it's sort of like a call out if you really want me to be honest about it. I am a quarterback that's being considered a bust, and I go to a team with Anthony Richardson on there. Granted, I was telling everybody that whole quarterback class with him and Will Levis, they could not stop talking about him and Will Levis. Kept telling everybody, don't do that. Now we're being proven right. The mayonnaise man is not doing good down south, and Anthony Richardson has not done very good. Granted, he's been hurt, he's been injured, but his conditioning hasn't even been right. Remember, he took himself out of a game.
Yeah, he was tired.
Yeah, and that's not a good look. So if he has not improved himself off in the off season in order to not only improve his conditioning but to study the playbook and everything of that nature, it's really going to look bad, especially after you're taking fourth overall. And the thing is, hey, you don't know what you got till it's gone. The Indianapolis Colts have not been able to replace the great Andrew Luck to save their lives. They have not been able to replace it. And the saddest part about it is they have more on the offensive side of the ball now that he's gone than they ever did with him there. They have offensive line play. They have running backs. They have receivers. And you have an offensive minded coach in Shane Steichen. You can't ask for more than what you've given. And guess what? The only team you really had to worry about in this division right here in the AFC South was the Houston Texans. And even they were having a down year this year. CJ Stroud got sacked over 70 times, even with all pro Larry Tunsil in the lineup. So there's a lot of questions that was about Anthony Richardson when he first came out. He was a real project quarterback. He was a project quarterback. And guess what? Every project quarterback is not a Randall Cunningham or Lamar Jackson or Michael Vick. We have to stop trying to think that every project quarterback is going to be those guys, because they're not. Or Josh Allen, let's put him as one of those guys as well, because remember, he came out of Wyoming.
Right.
That wasn't necessarily a Division I powerhouse. So he was a real reach to begin with. Remember when you had asked this one question? It's like, who would you take, Caleb Williams or would you take Anthony Richardson? Remember, I said Caleb Williams.
I did too.
So, and I mean, and if you really, really look at it, although Caleb might have had the better skill position player, the better line went to Anthony Richardson. The better coaching went to Anthony Richardson. In fact, they almost made the playoff with Gardner Minshew in the lineup. They was one play away.
And not to mention the fact that last year when he got benched for Joe Flacco,
Flacco made the defense look almost invisible certain games.
even one game against the Jaguars, in which he was running like he was Steve Young.
Exactly. So you got to ask yourself this. Is this do or die for Anthony Richardson? In the great words of Snoop Dogg, if you can't swim, you drown. You bound to drizzle at this point. And look, the water's already over your head at this time, because guess what? You're in a weak division. You win 9 games, you can go to the playoffs. Even if you put on a reasonable performance. So the jury's going to be out about Anthony Richardson. And guess what? Daniel Jones going to Indianapolis saying, okay, they got a weak quarter. This is probably what he's thinking. They got a quarterback that's probably borderline at this point. Guess what? I'm going to go out there and see if I can steal the star position, get me another fat contract. Because you can best believe if Anthony Richardson gets hurt, if he doesn't play well, and Daniel Jones come in and plays reasonable and gets them to the playoff, that's another fat contract he about to get. And you got to ask yourself, what was Daniel Jones lacking in New York? Lacking good coaching, lacking a good running game, lacking great weapons, lacking great offensive line play, lacking good offensive line play. You have some of that now in Indianapolis. Their offensive guard, those 2 offensive guards are some of the better in the league. So, hey, Ant, AR-15, AR-5, it's time, baby. You ain't in the SEC no more. Those days are gone. Now it's time for you to perform. I hope that you've gotten ready during the offseason, because if you didn't, and Daniel Jones, of all people, comes in and takes your position, in the great words of Gorilla Monsoon, you're in for a rude awakening.
BRF?
If Anthony Richardson lets Daniel Jones comes in and take his job, he might well just put the whole value meal in the bag and call it quits and just go somewhere else. Because at that point, ain't no saving him at that point. I mean, Joe Flacco, we saw what he did in Cleveland. He got Cleveland to the playoffs. I mean, he has a reputation for coming in. He has a reputation for coming in and playing well as a backup. So Joe Flacco, we can kind of excuse you a little bit. I mean, you're battling injuries, and then you had your whole thing with the conditioning and all that stuff. But when you came back, you showed up, you showed out, you played well. You helped the Colts win some games and ultimately almost get them to the playoffs. I mean, that team should be just that team should be spanked and slapped and everything for that performance against the New York Giants, getting thrashed the way they did the last game in the playoffs. So people are kind of like, people were making fun of the New York Giants for winning that game and, costing them better positioning in the NFL draft. Man, hey, nobody. Hey, what are the New York Giants going to do if the Indianapolis Colts are going to come out and lay an egg like that? I mean, it kind of is what it is at that point. Anthony, I feel like Anthony Richardson, even with his lack of accuracy and just his lack of consistent quarterback play, I still think he has if he can put it all together, he has a really, really high upside. But like his arm strength, his ability to run, make plays, his ability to extend plays, go in structure, out of structure. He has ability, and the potential is there. He just got to display it on a more consistent basis, and I just hope he can. And I just hope he can do that. So, Daniel Jones really coming up in here. He coming in with house money. He got nothing. He got nothing to lose. Like he knows he knows he did not play well after he got that contract with the New York Giants. So he's already coming in. I don't want to necessarily say damaged goods, but he's coming in with wanting to prove himself a little bit, wanting to show that hey, you saw the culture with the New York Giants. It wasn't the greatest culture, and I wasn't able to thrive on that. So maybe come in with a Shane Steichen, maybe coming in with with a little bit more structure, coming in with a new belief in himself. Maybe Daniel Jones can come in and do something. But as far as Anthony Richardson is concerned, I mean, I feel like it's make or break for him this year because I mean it's not like he has a bad team offensively. No, it's not like he has a bad team with the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, you have Jonathan Taylor, you have Michael Pittman Jr., you have Adonai Mitchell, you have Josh Downs, you have Alec Pierce. I mean, it's not like you don't have weapons. You have pretty good weapons there with the Indianapolis Colts, and plus that offensive line is coming back. It's still a pretty good offensive line, so it's not like you don't have a good team there. He it's up to him to really kind of put the focus in and really mainly improve his accuracy. I'm sorry, as you should not be touching anywhere in the high 40s, low 50s in completion percentage. You should be nowhere near that. I feel like if you're starting, you should be at the very least touching in the low 60s. I mean, if you're getting the reps and you're getting the throws, a reasonable ask.
47.7% his completion
Way
percentage was.
way too low. Way too low. Way
With
too low.
8 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, with a passer rating of 61.6.
Mm-mm.
And by the way,
See,
his
and
QBR, his QBR, 47.4, which is 27th in the NFL.
and the fact that the Indianapolis Colts made it to the last week of the regular season with a shot to make the playoffs. I mean that speaks for the talent they have on that roster outside of him. So he's really got to be in the lab this offseason. He's got to understand it. He's got to understand throws. He's got to look at the playbook. He's got to look at the film. He's got these. I feel like these are things that he can correct. I mean, it's just understanding your throws and understanding your timing. Ball placement. Just understanding how to lead his guys, because a lot of times when you have quarterbacks and you have arms with the strength of an Anthony Richardson, sometimes the touch usually always comes after, like, the arm strength. Like you'll be able to make every throw in the book with the arm strength, but sometimes you got to be able to make those touch throws intermediate, just to kind of prolong drives and get first downs. So he really has to show vast improvement with his accuracy. I don't think I feel like with his offensive talents and his ability to run the ball, he doesn't even need to be, mid high 60s in completion percentage with his ability to extend plays and extend drives. If a guy like Anthony Richardson is in even the high 50s, like 58, 59, if he's in that range, then low 60s, if he's in that range passing the football to where you can't really key on him running the ball, the Indianapolis Colts as an offense has a much better shot to thrive, to really do things with the weapons that they have, that he's going to have at his disposal. I mean, I'm rooting for him. I want him to do well, but at the same time, as the 4th overall pick, you are brought in to take over and be the new face of the franchise. And if he does not succeed, this is going to be another one of those situations that sets back another franchise because because quite frankly, they drafted the wrong quarterback. But I'm rooting for him though, because I definitely think he has hella talent, and I definitely think he can really do something if if he gets it, if he kind of gets everything together and understand what it and really fully understands what it means to be the face of that franchise, because being the face of that franchise is like it's like it's Peyton Manning and it's Andrew Luck, and you saw the careers both of those had. So you're following quarterback basically royalty when it comes to the Indianapolis Colts. So you got a lot to live up to as it is. But it's like I said earlier, I feel like he can do it with his upside and his potential. He just now has to go do it. And Daniel Jones signing there is not going to make it any easier on him, because the first slip up, they will not hesitate to put Daniel Jones in there. On the first slip up, they're not gonna hesitate, because right now I feel like that franchise is in the spot where they don't fully trust him. So the first slip up, they will yank him. I don't think his leash is as long as people may make it seem like. I don't think he's got a long leash. I think he's got to really show something the first month or so of the season. Otherwise, they're gonna be open up that quarterback competition there. And Daniel Jones, he wants to show that he can be a starter in the league. So it's on Anthony Richardson now. He's got to do it. I mean, and there's really no excuses from this point. It's make or break for him. He's got to put it together, and he's got to get it done this year. Otherwise, I mean, you really don't know. You really don't know where his career goes if he can't succeed being the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts, because he's not an accurate quarterback. So you don't know where it goes if he doesn't succeed. But I'm rooting for him. I want him to do well.
Well, it's been reported by ESPN's Stephen Holder. Anthony Richardson will be working with Chris Hess. For those who may not know, that is the same guy who worked with Josh Allen and helped refine Josh Allen's mechanics. So Anthony Richardson, hey, at least he's starting off in the right step in the offseason, because he knows it's going to be it for him. And also contract year, because again, Indianapolis has to make a decision. Now, for me, I would, whether if he becomes a success or not, I believe they should pick up his 5th-year option, because if he progresses and improves and wins a playoff game, if he doesn't make that much improvement, but improvement nevertheless, then you're going to have to pay him top-notch money. Again, you saw what happened with the Giants with Daniel Jones. They didn't pick up his 5th-year option because they felt like they were going to move on from him. And believe it or not, he made the playoffs, helped him win a playoff game, and eventually got his contract and paying him $40 million per year. So for Anthony Richardson, he's going to have to put in a lot of time in the lab and work on his game and refine his tools. But I wish him the best.